Okay, everyone, this week we're going to be drawing the skull, which you can find reference photos for on the Moodle module. Okay, but we're going to be drawing this skull using white Conté on black charcoal paper. Okay, now if you picked up your black charcoal paper, you'll notice that it has a texture to it. Okay, there are two sides. One is smoother, and one has more of a texture. Okay, and so you want to use the side that has the texture. Okay, that you can feel it. There's a little bit of a, it's almost like a canvasy sort of feel. Okay, now as far as like drawing the skull in white Conte, first what you want to do is you want to draw it out like you normally would. Do a preliminary sketch, but just with a regular pencil. Now you're going to say, oh, well, how am I supposed to see that? Actually, if you use just a regular number two pencil, or like in this case, I got a mechanical pencil, the silvery little lines will show up. So we're going to go ahead and start sketching this thing out, and we're going to go about life size, if not a little bit more. Now, when drawing the skull, what you want to do is you want to start with a circle. And this is actually what you do when you when you're drawing a human head or drawing a portrait. You start out with a circle. You can see these little silvery lines that are going to show up. They're not going to be really that visible when you have the white Conte on here. So don't worry too much about that. Okay, now this skull is sitting at kind of an angle, so I'm going to find the center of it, draw a line coming down, and then the jaw, and I'll adjust that a little bit. There we go. Right about there. Okay, so what you've got, you start with a circle, bring down the line which is the center of the thing, and then draw in a little bow underneath that, and that will be where the jaw will be. Okay, now once you have this sketched out, you get everything, you start adding the detail and stuff. Now what you're going to find is that the skull isn't quite what you think it is. Halloween was just last night, and so that creepy stuff is still in the stores, probably on special. But a real skull, you're going to find, does not have, well, it doesn't have horns or anything like that, and it doesn't have a furrowed brow. Actually, the shape of the eye sockets is a little more oblong than anything else. So look very carefully at where things are in relation to each other in the skull. Now, I'm going to draw a little darker line over here to define the edges. We got this is the temple bone right here, which is on the outside of the eye socket. And that goes right down to the cheekbone, which cuts way in and goes into more or less the gum line right about in here. Now, in order to make sure I got the spacing right before I continue on with the gum line here, I'm going to go on to the nasal cavity, because the nasal cavity is really close in relation to the eye socket. So, drawing that shape there. It could be a little bit longer. Something like that. And then gum line right about in here somewhere. And then on this side over here, we're going to have the temple bone. And that goes cheekbone. It comes kind of around and kind of folds around here. That comes out of it there. And it goes back and forms the socket that the jawbone sets in. Okay, and the jawbone is kind of interesting. It has almost like it splays out almost like a butterfly kind of shape. So you got this interesting negative space in here. Jaw comes down here and then goes to a little bit of a point down below. Now I'm not going to draw in all the individual teeth just yet. I usually do that when I'm doing it in the white Conté. You can draw in the basic shape of it if you want, though. Right here, I think I need to clean that up just a little bit. Gum line right about there, and then the line of the teeth right about in here. So I'll put in just the shape where the teeth go. Bottom line of teeth right about there. Okay. All right, so there's my preliminary sketch of the skull. Now I'm going to use a time lapse to put in all of the white Conté, because that's going to take a little bit of a while. Okay? Okay, so as you can see here, we've got this thing done now. You'll notice that the texture of the paper, actually allows you to make something of a half tone sort of thing. So if you lightly use your Conté, and you notice that I did that quite a bit, I would go over it very lightly at first. That creates, areas that are sort of in shadow, and add more Conté in areas that are lighter to make, some real contrast. Okay. Now you can, do some blending. The more you blend, the less of the texture of the paper is going to show through, and that's going to make the areas brighter. So you want to blend more to make brighter areas, because it's filling in those little pockets, those little cavities, right? You also, I don't know if you noticed, but you can use a kneaded eraser on Conté to pull up what you don't want. I use it to go through and clean up edges and pull out areas that I've got a little too much Conté in. Areas of shadows and stuff like that. Okay, so think of it this way. All the shadows are already there. What you're drawing is you're drawing the light on the object, which is kind of the opposite of what we usually do. Usually what we're drawing is, dark on white. So you're drawing shadows and contour lines and stuff like that. Okay? So, white Conté, charcoal paper. I think you'll probably like the results. But like I said at the beginning, sketch it out in pencil beforehand. Notice that you can't really even see those pencil lines anymore. They're completely obliterated by the white Conté. Okay? So sketch it out beforehand and then start working in very lightly with the Conté so you get kind of a nice, sort of half tone going on. And then the areas where you have the bright highlights and lights, that's where you really work into it with the with the Conté and make it bright white. Okay? All right, talk to you guys later.